believe you can be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, it's not just about having a big bank account, because that is not how happiness is made. We share tips every week to improve your physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, financial, and your mental health. Today, we're focusing on mental health and the topic of anxiety. And boy, was it fun in the backstage in the beginning of this show. So we all might have a little bit of this right now. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone. In the spirit of authenticity, to try to keep as much bias or persuasion out of the show, we do not talk about tips or advice before the show starts. So in our green room, we just talk about the schedule of the show and how it's going to go. All of our awesome guests are going to be talking from their own journey with their own tips on how to improve your mental health with regards to anxiety. Whew! Audience, if you're watching this, this is a very interactive show. Please comment and ask questions. We do ask your questions on air live and get the answers for you immediately. So don't be afraid to ask at any point throughout the show. I do want to shout out some of our followers on Facebook: Bernadette George, Instagram Rhino Hurst, TikTok Greg Baird, and on YouTube John Francis Boyle. Thank you so much for following us. If you want to shout out, all you have to do is follow us on socials and you might be next. If you're looking at this and want to be a guest on our show, because we know that you got something to share, please sign up. The link is being dropped right now. We know you got something to share with us. We'd love to have you on the show. On the other side, if you're going through something a little tough, maybe spiritually you're a little lost, physically you're not as fit as you'd like, financially your bank account isn't quite where you need it, let us know what topic you have. We will go out and find 3 awesome guests and throw an entire show just to help you grow. Yeehaw! If you do enjoy free information and helping like we do on this show, love to help people grow. I do offer free growth consultations one-on-one. That link's being dropped right now as well. Feel free to come chat with me one-on-one and see if we can help you get on a great path for growth. This episode has some awesome sponsors. We're going to start with our first one of our favorites, Samir Dasani, certified health and nutrition coach, specializes in preventing and reversing chronic and autoimmune diseases. It's crazy some of the stuff he's done. A lot of stuff is just so basic and you don't even think of it anymore. He's like healing and curing people all over the place. He transformed his life learning all about health and is now in South Africa getting his PhD in anthropology. Super cool guy. Check out his link. Our next sponsor is Jesse Lewis, who brings unforgettable entertainment to your event. He's a comedian hypnotist. Super awesome. Invite him out. We're going to have a couple of our events coming up. Hilarious interactive shows guaranteed to amaze and engage your guests. Next up, we have Anthony McCauley. Anthony is an endurance and wellness coach, empowering runners, cyclists, and triathletes to optimize their training, build resilience, and achieve peak performance. With a passion for longevity and mental toughness, he helps athletes push their limits. Go check that link out. And our final sponsor for this episode is Anupama. Anupama is a happiness coach, wellness healer, and speaker, helping people find deep soul connection through mind and body. She is amazing and super smart. Been on our show before. She's featured globally and the author of the Zero Effort Journal. Join her in a free happiness session dropping on right now Mondays 5:30 on Facebook. Go check her out with that link. Ooh, and last but not least, I think it's time to start learning. We're going to go ahead and bring out our first guest here. His name is Steve. Steve.
Yes, sir.
Who are you?
I'm a life artist. In addition to being kind of a Renaissance man, being an author of almost 10 books, I'm working on my 10th book now, and a poet and a songwriter and a performer. I also kind of push the limits and the boundaries that are placed upon me as a person living in this world we're in. I've hitchhiked cross country a couple of times. I just finished last year riding my motorcycle to all 48 contiguous states. I lived without money for a year.
Hey.
And I just question our reality, and I find new and amazing ways of living, basically.
You said you've hitchhiked across America multiple times.
Yeah. I hitchhiked out there from North Carolina to California, and then back from California to North Carolina. So that was quite the adventure. I don't recommend it.
Was this a while
Yeah,
ago?
this
This
was
is like years ago?
back around 2002, around there. So early
Okay.
2000 aughts.
Do you think that could happen again in today's world?
Um, I think it could. Yeah, I think it could. I don't really recommend it. It's an interesting way to travel. You meet a lot of really interesting people. Some of them are kind of
I bet.
flawed and working through some situations, but some of them are just the most generous people I've ever met. And just had some great stories. And putting yourself out to the universe like that, it's scary, obviously, but then once you get into it and you see how life provides for you as you provide for it, a lot of the people become a whole lot less scary. But it can be really difficult sitting
Okay.
beside the side of the road waiting for somebody to stop for you. That's the real hard part.
Yeah, about that. Maybe you can, maybe you learned something from that. Let's ask you a question here. If I wanted to improve my mental health with regards to anxiety, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Breathe deep. We have these breaths that we're given every little day. We don't have to work for them. We don't do anything to earn them, but they are what give us life. And oftentimes we get so caught up in our heads and the minds and all the ideas and the worries and concerns that we have that we just get really anxious about everything. And if we take a moment and stop and just breathe deep and just focus on that breath and realize that it's being provided for you as everything else in the world is provided for you. And if you can control yourself, calm yourself down, and reconcile yourself with this life force working through you, it helps a lot in empowering you to take whatever next step you need to take. But that breath and connecting with that is a really huge, important part of that. A lot of people do that in the meditation, and that's a big part of meditation, but it's not required for us necessarily to sit for an hour and do that. Just one good breath can be just really beneficial. And if you've got time to take 4 or 5 or 10, um, just feel that life energy coming into you and feel it going back out, and just let go of all the different ideas that are saying that you can't do whatever life needs you to do, because that's what you're here for.
That's what you're here for. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Steve, where on your life journey did you learn this tip?
I would say if it was a single time, it was probably at a meditation um, center. It's a Sivananda Yoga ashram in New York. And they had these different breathing exercises, one in which you cover one nostril and you breathe in for 4 counts at one nostril, then you hold it for like 8 counts, and then you release it to the other nostril. And it just really made me become very conscious of my breath and how I could hold it, how I could control it. And yeah, it really just helped to dial that in for me. And so that's always been just a big help whenever I get overwhelmed, just to take that moment to just breathe deep and focus on what you can focus on, get done what you can get done, and know that everything will get done in its own time. But you got to keep moving forward.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that. All right. Nice words, Steve. I love
Thank
it.
you.
All right. We'll bring you back out for the round robin. We're going to move on to our next guest. Next up, we have Dawn. Dawn, who are you?
I am a hospice nurse, a grief recovery coach. I'm also a single mom to an 18-year-old daughter. That is, I've always said my greatest accomplishment was the fact that she made it to adulthood. and,
Fantastic. I mean, yeah,
and
all
I'm
right. That's a
still
good
alive
one. That's big.
too.
All right. Dawn,
There's not
if I
much.
wanted to improve, well, maybe this next question will spur some more out of you. If I wanted to improve my mental health with regards to anxiety, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I tend to go with what others think of me is not my business because
What others think of me is not my business.
a lot of anxiety comes
Tell me more.
from, oh, it'll come from, well, I don't want to do that because what will so and so think? Society
Ooh.
says I should do this. My parents want me to feel this way. Well, it's nobody's bullshit. It's nobody's business what you're going through, and it's not your business what they think. So anytime I think, "Oh, I'm scared. Why do I wanna do that?" Why, what am I thinking? I'm like, "I'm thinking I wanna do it because fuck everybody else." Nobody else has the balls to do it because they're worried about what everybody else is thinking, so what everyone else
That's
thinks,
very true. I mean,
not your
you
business.
could almost argue that anxiety is entirely based on what you worrying about what others think of you,
Mhm. And being a hospice nurse, a
right? Like,
lot of patients that their regrets is things they didn't do. And a lot of it is because they were told they shouldn't or they can't. And I'm like, well, so I've learned from hospice to, you know what, live in the moment. Who gives a shit? Do as long as you're not hurting anybody. Don't purposely,
valid,
yeah,
yeah.
don't purposely go out and do something just to hurt someone, but fuck them what they think. As long as it makes you happy, do it.
So tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where in your life journey did you learn this advice?
I feel like probably 4 or 5 years ago in a combination of hospice, because being a nurse, each area has its own special thing. And being hospice, I learned seeing my patients that, like I said, I don't want regrets when I'm laying on my deathbed. And having a teenage
Right.
daughter who was worried about social media and Snapchat, and so and so said this about me at school, mom, so and so said that. So me giving her advice made me realize, oh, I should probably take my own advice. Kind of like a nurse is a horrible patient. Well, we're horrible about taking our own advice, period.
That sounds about right. I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
Awesome, Don. All right, well, we're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you back out in the round robin at the end. Next up, we have Victor. Victor, who are you?
How you doing, Austin? Well, a little bit about me. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, the island, beautiful island, and I'm a dad. I'm an entrepreneur, and my goal and my objective in life is to truly be able to help people, man. Help people in different ways. Help people achieve what their wants are, and a lot of them are because a lot of people don't achieve their things because of mental health. Like Don said, also like they don't want to do things because other people tell them they can't do it. And for me, it's also to helping people inspire them and be able to do whatever they want to do in their lives.
I love it. I love it. Are you still in Puerto Rico?
Currently in Medellin, Colombia, man. I've lived in 15 different
Oh,
states,
okay.
and I'm currently here in Colombia with my daughter.
I was gonna say because right over there is that's Puerto Rico. That's Culebra over here.
Okay, so where you at right now?
I'm in St. Thomas.
Oh, yeah. So I grew up there, man. I'm a beach bum myself, so I know I love that over there.
Columbia's way back that way.
Yeah. A couple keys
All
in
right,
there.
Victor, I've got an important question for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health with regards to anxiety, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Man, first of all, I think to focus on what you can control. Because I think a lot of times we are our biggest enemies. You know, our mind is our biggest enemy, and we focus on so many other things that we don't focus on the only things we can control is on our actions, our beliefs, our thoughts. You know, I think it's a little bit about that. But if you focus on what you can control, I think that'll go a long way.
Yeah. Take a deep breath. Don't worry about others. Focus on what you control. These are all great ways. So, do you have any tips on how I'm going through life? I'm focusing on crazy things I can't control. Maybe I hear your advice and I'm like, okay, I should focus on what I can control, but it might be easier said than done. Do you have any tiny tips or advice on how to try to, maybe I should ask this in the round robin. Let's hold up. I'll ask this in the
I
round
was
robin.
ready, man.
Victor,
I was ready for it.
where in your life journey did you, yeah, where in your life journey did you learn this information?
Man, well, I was in the military, so I was in basic training in Kentucky, in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I'm from the beach, man. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I was there in 31st of December. It was 2007 from 2008, January 2008, man. It was the worst blizzard in history and at that time in Kentucky, and
Okay.
I was freezing my butt, man, and I was going through a lot, and I always remember a drill sergeant telling me, Victor, it's mental. Everything's the mind. And for me, at that point, changed my life thinking about, okay, it's everything's mental. without knowing maybe the principles. Now I study more, and I know that every, principles for success is, talk about the mind's everything, focus on your mind, what you can control. So I focus on my steps. I focus on my breathing, like Steve was saying. I focus on a lot of things that was, and I noticed that, hey, it's not so cold anymore. You know what I'm saying? I also focus on a lot of gratitude, because sometimes we think we're so bad, but I was seeing a movie, Life is Beautiful. I don't know if you've seen it, and I love it because this dad made a Nazi, camp concentration beautiful, as less worse as possible for his kid, And for me, it's about that. Sometimes we focus so much on what we can't control that we lose, all our thoughts, and we go on a negative, spiral down rabbit hole, and we don't control our thoughts, So if you can go to focus your thoughts and notice, okay, am I thinking positive every day? Am I thinking negative? What am I thinking more, negative or positive? Just with that simple thing every day, and really truly thinking about it. Something it's easier said than done, But if you can at least, even put an alarm on your clock. Hey, every hour, what am I thinking about? What, or whatever, you can truly make an impact in your life very quickly, because if you change your thoughts, you change your life, man. That's for sure.
Change your thoughts, change your life. All right, Victor. All right. Well, I think we're gonna start this off and bring everyone else out. Let's do this round robin here, and I'm gonna start off with the first question. That's gonna go to just about all of you. So I guess let's focus on the what you can't control and can control. What tips or advice do you have to try to remove? Even with what Don said. Steve is like, take a deep breath, right? Center yourself. And Don, stop caring about other people. Victor says, ignore what you can't control. Advice: if I'm in an anxious whirlwind, it's hard to get out of that. What are things I can do outside of take a breath? Because Steve already nailed that, to get me out of an anxious state. There's the question.
I think some of this. We all going to start. Go ahead, Don. You go ahead.
I have a little acronym I did for myself. Daily tool to live. L, look for one happy moment about today. I, identify how to reproduce that feeling. V, view yourself doing that task, and then it will E, elevate your mood.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah. To go a little bit on that also, it's like Tony Robbins says, you have to, where attention goes, energy flows. So also, like, pay attention to what you're really into your mind. Pay attention to what, and gratitude. We are so, we have so much in life, and we don't give thanks enough. I think if we can give thanks more every single day, give thanks because we're alive, because we have family, even if we don't have family, because there's always somebody in the worst situation. Most of the people, I can bet, whoever comes to me, I can bet that there's 1 million people worse than you right now. At least 1 million people, So having that actually sense of where you at, and giving thanks for the little things, for whatever you have to give thanks and feel that emotion, man, your life can change very quickly.
I always say it's hard to see anxiety in America. I'm like, we're already so far ahead.
I agree.
When you travel and you see how other people live, I'm like, man, anxiety in America is a tough thing to stomach when you see how other people have to go and live their day. People that don't even know if they're going to have water that day. Like, so will there be water? We don't.
That's what maybe in Colombia, you see real poverty. And I'm sorry, you see real poverty. You see real extreme poverty that people are living with $200 a month, maybe if that. That's a shot inside for me. I'm sorry, Steve. Go.
No, work. Yeah, we develop our own different kind of anxieties here. We may not have those needs that need to be met, our physiological needs or safety and concerns, but we have our own concerns about our love and belongingness and finding our esteem and those kind of things. And especially, with these little devices we have now that offer so much stimulation, it can be overwhelming. And a lot of times in getting to that idea of what can you control, what you can't control, just this simple act of getting yourself a pen and a piece of paper is really simple, and writing down what those concerns are. So they're not floating around in your mind anymore. They're direct right there in the physical world. And then that gives you a little bit more ability to manage them. Say, okay, what can I actually do next? What's the easiest thing for me to do? What's the most challenging thing I should get out of the way? And, give yourself the ability to really see what you are working with so you can work with it.
Definitely.
Man, well said, Steve.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Dang.
Well, I consider myself a
Victor,
wordsmith.
Don, anything you guys want to add?
No, it's just that, like putting like they don't teach us enough strategies. I think in school they have to teach us more about strategies, about principles, values, purpose. A lot of people don't have a purpose, and if you don't have a purpose, you have nothing to go strive for. But for me, like my daughter just got here. She's my biggest purpose right now, and for me having a purpose and putting it in pen and paper, like Steve says, your work but now they're real. Also, your dreams, put them in paper. Now they're more real as well. If you put in the paper, you start creating, you start manifesting all these things. Okay. So for me, also that I love what Steve said about putting, things, your worries, because now they're not in your head, but also do that with the good things you want and with the dreams you want. And every day you do it and you start auto-suggesting yourself, and that's a principle of success for Napoleon Hill, auto-suggestion, brainwash yourself with what you truly want to do. For me, that's very important. But I brainwash myself every single day. People say, Victor, why are you so happy all the time? Because I decide to. And I brainwash myself every morning to be happy. I put audios, videos, even in my worst days, I'm going through a divorce, whatever it is, I have to be happy. And now more for even for my daughter. So having that purpose and brainwashing myself is very important for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot what helps me with that is like you guys said. And then when I start to get angry or upset, a thing I learned was those who anger you control you. And I don't want to be controlled.
Yeah. Say that again.
Yeah, I was with a friend once, driving down the road, and he got real bad road rage over somebody who did something wrong, and it didn't, really affect him much. But he got so angry at what they did. I'm just thinking, those people are well on down the road. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're about. They don't even know you're angry, and yet they control you. They have power over your emotional state. And think about how many times we give other people power, and they don't even know they have it. They don't even know it's an issue. But like Don was saying, so many times we put so much thought and worry and concern over what other people think. The reality is we are all three different people. We're the people we think we are, we're the people other people think we are, and then we're the people we actually are. If we can focus a little bit more on the people we think we are, like Victor said, and start to deciding, how am I going to react today? How am I going to spend my time with the 1,440 minutes I have today? That's all we've got, 1,440 minutes every day. How am I going to spend that? Because those are mine, all mine. I can give them away, I can sell them, or I can waste them. So we've got to decide, how are we going to really spend this time that we have in this precious day we've got.
Steve, definitely that. And
Piggyback
also
on
something
that.
real quick. Go, Don.
I think we all have something to say.
That's why we're here.
The audience doesn't even have to ask questions. We're just going, man.
It's kind of like, as far as control, you control your reaction. It's like I said, if those who anger you control you, but if you can control your own emotions and control what you're thinking, then you're in control of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we give power to a lot of things that is out exterior. We give power to the government, to our friends, to our spouses. We give power, emotional power, to a lot of people that we shouldn't. And that's where also we play something like the victim card. Oh, it's the government's fault or it's his fault. When we start taking like full accountability. I remember I heard Tom Billy once said, like, if you get hit by a car by a drunk person, it's not the drunk person's fault. It's your fault because you were at that point at that time. When you take full responsibility for everything that happens in your life, good or bad, that also gives you a sense of control that no one controls you, and you start acting on that, and you start controlling your life more. So stop giving power to people like Don was saying, and start blaming. Take full responsibility, full accountability, and then control what you can control, daily steps. Don't look at the macro. Look at the, okay, now what do I need right now? I ate, I this, whatever. I don't need anything right now. Okay, next steps, and those small wins will get you to the big win. I think a lot too. So concentrate on those things as well.
All right, we're going to pause right there on that, and we're going to go forward. We have a question from the audience. How has social media impacted your social anxiety, both positively and negatively? Shout out to Victor right there. Nuclear energy.
I think social
So
media it didn't so much negatively affect
Go ahead, Doc.
me, but watching my daughter, they go by so much of what they see and what their peers tell them and what it's I'm glad I grew up somewhat Gen X and didn't have it and we were outside.
Hmm.
So, Don, let's follow up on that. What are some tools or advice on how to kind of mitigate that negative social media anxiety production?
Stay off of it. I limit myself. I limit myself as to how much, and if I start having someone who posts nothing but negative, I unfollow because it will affect you.
Yes.
It will affect you.
definitely, I don't think
I'm
not
gonna do a
having.
quick shout out right here.
Mhm.
Hold on, Victor, real quick. If you are a Millionaires Are Made watcher, we do have social health social media episodes and mental health social media episodes. So if you have more questions, we have episodes on this. Go ahead, Victor.
Oh, having a small daughter, I know it's gonna be impossible for me to take social media off her life. So I think also like we as parents or as a country or as a society, I think we also focus more on values, on giving certain principles, because sometimes they don't teach us enough. Like again, those things that we need to focus on, and then we're focusing on social media, what the Joneses says, and I can't imagine what my daughter's going to go through, with social media in the next couple of years, with everything being exposed, everything out there, all the scrutiny, have to be perfect. But I think, or I say, if I focus on some values, what values give her purpose, give her, okay, if you're going to use it, and understand how to use it. How can you benefit from it, instead of, being the negative side, Because I don't think that we're going to be able to take it off in the next society is how can we better use it maybe, or focus like I try, better information, better content. I don't know, something like that maybe.
Yeah, for me, it's been negative, largely because this is a brand new platform, a new technology that we're just using for the very first time in our world to be able to connect with people the way that we do. And so we're all just figuring it out as we go. And a lot of that is going to be by the mistake method, as we've already seen, because we get a lot of people who are getting very addicted to it. And that increases anxiety. And for me, as an artist, it's always been really so frustrating for me because I'll share things on Facebook and stuff, but there'll be something I did on YouTube or Substack, and Facebook doesn't like to share those much because they draw attention away from Facebook. But when I get back down to it and I say, okay, this is the social media. This is how I connect with my social group. And when I just say, put out the simple questions that I need, does anybody have a yoga mat I can borrow or whatever? Those always get engagement. And if there's a simple connecting with people about let's get together in the real world, using it for that, I think can be very helpful in reducing that anxiety because it gives us that sense that we do have a community around us. But when we're just using it as a distraction, as let's just scroll through here and let our minds go wherever these other people want us to take us and explore these different ideas that we really didn't want to explore a couple of minutes ago, that's when it really gets outlandish, and that's when it really just is, again, it can be a real detriment. So for me, I've really cut Facebook out altogether the last few weeks. But when I want to go know something, when I want to fill my mind with something, then I go do that consciously. I go to a platform like YouTube or something where I can search what I'm looking for and see what I'm trying to find, instead of getting this scattershot collection of stuff over what people have for lunch or what they think about this or that or whatever. And it really is going to have to come down to in how we use social media, that we have to make those decisions and realize that it's our responsibility to put our attention where we want to put our attention. Like Victor was saying before, where your attention goes, that's where everything grows. So yeah, it's a hard thing to do, absolutely. But everything hard to do is what makes us stronger. When we go to the gym and we hit that weight we feel that pain in our muscles breaking down. That's what makes our muscles stronger. And everything we do in life that's hard for us, that's what's going to make us stronger. It's tough, but there you go.
Be great. Be great.
I love it. We
What's that, Don?
We got another question from the audience, real quick. What are some of the most effective coping mechanisms you've discovered for managing anxiety?
I think we backtrack to what Steve says. Like when you get anxious, breathe, breathe. Like take deep breaths. Have that consciousness of how you're breathing, how you're feeling. Going back to gratitude as well. And hey, what are you feeling? Maybe write it as well. Okay, I'm feeling this emotion. Write the emotion you're feeling as well. So like being conscious of what you're feeling and breathing, and that's very important. I don't know. What do you think, Don?
A lot of times if I can remove myself from the situation, because most of the time you can, but even if you can't, I'm with you. I go back to trying to focus on my breath and focus on my thoughts and focus on myself, because that's what I can control.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah, and
and maybe that I heard, Steve.
No, yeah. Sometimes, as Don said, is getting away from that situation and breathing. I go for walks whenever I get that time where I'm like just stressed out about something. Just go for a walk, 5-10 minute walk. Just let that be the motion you're in. Allow yourself that time to connect with the earth, connect with your body, and relax your mind a little bit before you go back in to face whatever you've got to face. That's always been a huge help for me, anyway.
To follow up with Steve, a lot of that comes with a scientific thing called the hope
Mm.
molecule, where physical exercise, it's the only molecule that can cross the blood-brain barrier. So when you exercise, you actually create this, and this molecule goes in your head and helps you with mental health. So exercise is a great way. Why they always say it reduces stress and all these other kinds of things is simply the hope molecule. We've also done an episode on that if you search our YouTube. All right, another question we're going to go with. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, here it is. Shutterbuggin says, I am confused. How do you differentiate between healthy stress and anxiety that requires attention?
I
Well,
feel
I
like
think when it affects you, when you start, Don, go first, Don. I'll let you go first.
Victor's always hopping in.
for me, healthy stress pushes me to do better. And anxiety makes me want to recluse and pull back into myself. Okay, Victor.
That's a good way to put that.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say, when if you start feeling emotional, when you start feeling sad, okay, that's bad stress, because I stress myself a lot in my business and my as a personal, and I love that stress. I love the stress of hitting. Sometimes my ex-wife would say I'm healthy as well, but I think it's for me, it's health doesn't affect my state of being sad or happy. I still feel happy. I still feel a sense of fulfillment as well. So if I'm still feeling a sense of fulfillment, I don't think that's bad anxiety. But when you start feeling those negative emotions, that's bad anxiety. I don't know. Maybe that understand that.
Yeah, I think that healthy stress, like I said before, that the stress you put on your muscles when you're exercising is a healthy stress. When you're directing that energy toward what you're trying to achieve, as hard as it might be, and it might be stressful, that's a healthy stress. When you are allowing too many other stressors to create anxiety, things you can't control, things that doesn't matter how much you want to work on them, it's if it's in your circle of concern, may not be in your circle of influence. And those are that's the unhealthy stress, is focusing on those things that you really don't have any control over anyway. So focus on that healthy stress that you have, and realize that with that you're becoming stronger. You're becoming more the person you need to be as you practice your existence.
All right, we're running out of time. We've got 1 to 2 more questions we're going to do. Omar asks, what resources, books, podcasts, or apps would you recommend for someone dealing with anxiety? Great questions. Anyone want to take that? Obviously, anxiety, this episode's a great one. But what kind of other resources? You guys have any good books on anxiety?
I think also if you focus on principles, man, I think focus on your values, focus on what you want. Focus, for example, for me, Think and Grow Rich, man. That's a book. It's not about anxiety, but it's about how can you be better. If you focus on how you are better and feeling that fulfillment, I think a lot of anxiety know what they want in their life. And because they don't know what they want in their life, a lot of anxiety comes. So like those things, your podcast is like this, podcast like this, I would say Tom Bilyeu, Eric Thomas, I have all these people that actually inspire me, Tony Robbins, but look for strategies and tools you can use, not only the content. That's why I think the book Thinking Grow Rich is so important, because it's talk about 13 principles. It's talk about, the desire, faith, auto suggestions, even like I talk about sexual transformation, how to transform the energy, So talk about so many things that actually, for me, a book over 100 years old, it's so important, and that can actually take you to true principles, to get that anxiety out. That's what I think a little bit.
I'm with you. I was
All
in
right,
a
we'll
book
take
study.
one last. Oh, go ahead, Don.
I was in a book study and we did the Think and Grow Rich, and women looking at it differently than men. And it definitely made a huge difference. That and Bob Proctor.
Mm.
I like listening to him and looking at his books.
I have an app called Insight Timer that has a lot of guided meditations and that kind of thing. But mostly what I have it for is, you can set a timer for however long I want to just kind of escape from the world and breathe and meditate. And then when the timer goes off, you have this nice bell that has a nice long ring to it to kind of bring you back into the real world. And having that timer, I can give myself permission to not have to address all the needs of the world and everybody who's depending on me. And I can say, I can take these 15 minutes and they're mine. And when that's over and that bell finishes ringing, then I go back and answer to the rest of the world. But taking that autonomy, huh?
I have that app too.
Oh yeah, it's a good app. It's a really great app. It's like the first one on my page. That's like the first thing I go to.
All right, guys, we got one last question, and it's targeted towards Steve. Steve, were there any moments of fear or apprehension while you were hitchhiking back in 2002?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I met a dude in New Mexico who pulled a big old knife on me. And, we've been hanging out for a good part of the day. He was a rather rough and tumble character and didn't appreciate the way I responded to something he did or whatever. And, that was pretty nerve-wracking. It was a pretty big knife. And I just kind of, stood my ground, looked him in the eye and said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to fight you. You do what you want, and he kind of made a move for me. And I just had to, stand in my own poise and realize my own autonomy and, not play that game. Say, I'm not going to let this man control me, even though he's trying as hard as he can. So, yeah, it was pretty rough. And there's, of course, a lot of other moments out there where I was out in the elements and, you don't know where life's going to provide, but when you just have faith and you continue doing what you can do, even as little as it might be, the way appears. The way always appears, as long as you take another step.
I love it. All right, guys, it's time for my favorite part of the whole show. This is where we have to come up with our daily challenges. A task or tasks take less than 5 minutes, cost zero, and are available to anyone in the world. Kamchatka to Kathmandu have in order to improve mental health regarding anxiety.
I think, to piggyback on everything we've all been saying, sit down and write down 3 things you're grateful for. And no matter how simple it is, I have a blanket. I'm grateful for my blanket, or I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful I can get on a podcast.
That was quick and easy. All right. Dawn did hers today. I would say we do some deep breathing, Steve, if you start your morning off with 5 deep breaths.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Deep breathing, meditation, and then taking that walk. That walk could be a walk for contemplation. It could be a walk for meditation, whatever it is, but kind of getting outside of your zone for a little while. and finding your center again, your grounding, and then getting back into it. But those are things that anybody can do. Focus on your own breath and focus on your own movement. My addition to that would be drinking that glass of water and really realize that is 70% of what you're comprised of, and let that water flow through. This water has been the same water that's been circulating through all the planets and all the people and all the living things since time began. And now we get to take that into our lives and let us continue our part in this little unbroken path we're on.
To piggyback real quick out of what Don said, take 1% of your day. It's 7 to 14 minutes. Take that day, sit down, either write down, it's better, but if you can't write it, think about it then, but what are you grateful for? What are your emotions? What do you want to feel? Write it down, get a purpose. I'm going to do this. I'm going to strive for this in life. I want to get out of this situation. How, plan out your day. I think, it's very, we don't plan to failure. We just fail to plan. I think it's very important when we plan what we think, even what we think, we can plan it out. Plan out what you're going to think. I want to think this. I want to feel this emotion. You can truly, even it's like just smile. If you smile and you start smiling, you start feeling good. Start doing all these things. Body language, all these things you can change, and you don't need to pay anything. Just by doing it consciously. Be conscious of what you want to do, what you want to feel, and what you want to do.
Love it. All right, guys, we have our daily challenge. Our mission is complete. I'm going to wrap up the episode. Thank you so much for coming out. Viewers, great questions. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you had an awesome time. We have a daily challenge. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Take 5 deep breaths to start your morning off. Walk either around your home or around your living room a few times. Somehow you need to go produce some hope molecules, and then write down how you want to feel that day. Do you want to feel successful? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel accomplished? Do you want to feel just lazy and relaxed? Put it down. We'll be doing this too on social media. You'll see us posting all of our stuff. Hopefully you'd love to join. And never forget that